What's up, guys? Ryan here from E39 Source in the 2006 manual converted E60 M5. We've got a video today on replacing the batteries in the Siren module. That's the beeper module that beeps when you unlock the car and lock the car. It's behind the rear bumper in the back. We're going to get there shortly, but the code that we're troubleshooting today is the one on top. That's 9D as in Delta, 9 Delta 12. SINE is the name of the Siren module. It says internal battery. It says existent, no, but if I clear that code out, we drive the car at all, the code will immediately come back. So the Siren module has two batteries in it. And the reason for that is if someone's attempting to steal the vehicle, maybe they're smart and they try to disconnect the battery first so the alarm won't go off. Well, that's where they're screwed. There's batteries in the Siren module that will allow the alarm to sound even with the battery disconnected. So according to BMW, you cannot replace those batteries. They want to sell you a new Siren module. It's around $200 or $300. And today we're going to pull the rear bumper cover off and one bracket and then open up the module and hopefully find two replaceable batteries. To remove the rear bumper cover, we've got three areas that we're going to be working on specifically. And we're going to do it on a lift here today. You don't have to. It just makes it a little bit easier. We're going to be working in the fender liners here. There's a variety of plastic pop rivets or push rivets, some 8mm fasteners. That'll be on both sides. Then from inside the trunk, we're going to have to remove these little compartments. And the way to do that is firstly lift up your center trim like that. And then we're going to look back here and find 2 1/4 turn plastic screws. Sometimes you can even do them by hand. Put the slot like that vertical and then pull it out as such, and you'll see that as that turns it locks into position. So we have one here, this will be on both sides, and our second one's over here on the side. It's easiest with a screwdriver, but as you can see it doesn't exactly take a lot of work to get them without one. When you get those released, pretty much just grab the trim and it hinges out like this. During reinstallation, we have a few tabs. This tab is going to press in right here through the carpeting. There's a piece in the chassis that holds it nice and tight. Another tab up here fits in this groove. And then you just push it all the way in and replace the fasteners. Reason for removing these pieces is it will expose a total of 4, 2 on each side, Torx 30 bolts. And here's the other one hiding in the wires that are responsible for holding the bumper nice and tight right under the tail light assembly. The tail lights do not need to be removed. So I'm going to repeat that process here on the left. And then our third and final place where we will be working to remove the rear bumper will be underneath the car in the center on the M5. There's a spoiler, a bit of a valance back here that has a variety of 8mm fasteners that will need to be removed to kind of release this trim from the underside of the car so we can go ahead and pull the bumper off. Process should be the same on the standard E60, 530, 3540, 4550, etc. With the difference of, I don't think they have any fasteners down here. The rest of it should be pretty much identical. Working from the rear fender liners, we have a total of 5 fasteners that need to be removed. So up at the top, we've got a 8mm screw here. As we come down, we're going to find another 8mm. This is going to be one of those typical BMW plastic push rivet fasteners. So you pry out the center with a non-marring pry tool, or a flathead screwdriver works in a pinch, and take that out. Come down a little bit more, we see 2 more 8mm screws. Only remove the upper one. The bottom one does not need to be removed. So again, we're just removing the top one. And then when we look down from the bottom of the car, we see 1 more plastic push pin right here. So we'll take all 5 of those components out, and then I'll show you how this comes off of the fender. With the fasteners removed, we're ready to remove the bumper from the side panel here. This is a simple operation. Grab up here and pull, just like that. Now underneath, the rear valance is attached to, I'll call it the battery box here on the M5 with what appear to be 1, 2, 3, 4 simple 8mm fasteners. And that should allow this trim piece to come off. It's going to stay in the bumper. It'll just detach from the car. And then when we take this off, we're going to put it in a very safe location, as in on a big towel or something that won't scratch up the bumper cover. Quick note on those 4 screws, they have a much wider set thread like that. They're not going into a body nut, they're just going into plastic. So with those 4 out, we can see how loose that becomes, and we're ready to carefully, it's kind of a 2-man operation, have someone on each side slide the bumper out, and then assuming you've got the park distance control like this car does, there's a large electrical connection on the other side of the bumper right about here in this area, and it clips into the chassis. Standard connector, you pinch tabs on each side, wiggle, and pull it apart, and then we'll have the bumper off. Looking at the inside of the bumper now, this is on the passenger side. This is the electrical connection for the PDC. We can see a tab there, identical on the other side. Squeeze both of them together at the top and wiggle it out. The electrical connection snaps in right here on the car, so it's nice and tidy. And this is what things should look like now. So the alarm siren should be on the passenger side of the car. In fact, we can just see it right here. And it's built into this large bumper installation bracket. I suppose I'll say at this point, you can also remove this bracket by removing the inner fender liner on the rear passenger wheel. Take the wheel off. There's a bunch of 8mm fasteners. Probably have to loosen up that door for the ABS sensor and brake pad wear sensor. I think that's personally a lot more work. I've gotten this bumper off in about 6 minutes. So now we see an 8, an 8, an 8, 10 down here. And we will need to remove that lower 8 I said not to before. Looks like that holds our fender liner to this bracket. After removing those fasteners, the bracket comes off and we're only attached by our electrical connection, which appears to be just one tab on this side. So squeeze that in, wiggle it off. With the bracket off, I see a 10mm nut down there at the bottom holding the siren module to the bracket. Now we remove that. With the 10mm nut removed, now we've got a plastic tab over here that I've already released. I just used a flathead screwdriver to come in here and very gently pry it away from the siren module. So the siren kind of clips up or pops up like this and will then come out. Good time to clean it up. Now I can see 4 Phillips head screws that I really hope come out for me. This has probably never been touched. 4 screws came out without any incident, and that allows you to pry the module open like this. So we see a few things. The 2 pieces are still connected. Obviously the speaker component's over here. That uses these 2 white wires to go into a very small connector on the board that I prefer not to disturb if we don't have to right here. But I do see 2 batteries inside this little door. It even says open. So if we pry that plastic tab, hinge the door open, there's our 2 Panasonic. These are CR123A batteries, which I was easily able to find on Amazon. They'll be delivering in a few hours today. So we'll just pry those out with a little screwdriver or your fingernails and replace both of these batteries. Obviously, if you have any sort of corrosion in here, or if one of these batteries has leaked, try to clean it up to the best of your ability. If it's too far gone, you'll probably find used ones on eBay or bite the bullet and buy a new one. Thankfully, ours looks very clean. We also have this gasket here, which came loose on me initially. This is just a rubber sealing gasket in between the 2 pieces. So as we put that back together, we'll make sure that seats well. Batteries in and we're back on the bracket. I wanted to give a quick clip here to show that this fatter part of the siren kind of fits in a little groove on this bracket. Our 10mm nut goes back on. There's no specific torque spec, just not too tight. And then this little tab at the bottom has a bit of a step in it. You can just see it sticking out the bottom. So I just used a flathead screwdriver again very carefully to get that to position and click in place, using the part of the speaker here as leverage. So with that back together, we're ready to put it back on the car. A note on bumper fitment. We can see these adjustment screws right here on the corners near the taillights. It's not on the inner one by the trunk lid, just on the outer ones. Those can be driven with a hex socket. And this is going to affect the gapping right back here where it meets the bodywork. So, and you can adjust it with the bumper on too. So if you find that the bumper's sticking too far out or it's too far recessed, you can get a tool in there from the inside of the trunk or now while it's on the ground and adjust where that bumper sits in relation to the quarter panel. These are the batteries we ended up using just straight from Amazon, the Energizer 123 lithium battery. Came in a pack of 6 for something like $8 or $10. Look at that, Silverstone and Sepang. This is back together, super simple to put the bumper back on. Kind of the only installation note I have is as someone tightens those 2 Torx 30s from inside the trunk, someone else should come over here and give a nice little pull just straight up on the bumper, and that's gonna help reduce just unnecessary body gap down here under the tail light. So a little tug on the bottom, make sure it's up nice and tight. Tighten down those T30s, nothing crazy. No need to wail on them. I think they're just plastic fasteners in there. So back on, real easy here. You just line it up. Be careful you don't bump the bumper into the quarter panel and damage the paint at all, but just line it up and then kind of use your fist to just tap it into place and replace all the fasteners that you removed before. So with that done, went ahead and cleared the codes, went out for about a 5 or 7 mile drive, parked the car, went into a store, bought some fuses for that car and came back. Drove the car back to the shop, scanned the codes, they're gone. They definitely would have been back before. So hopefully that is the repair. I hope this is helpful. It should save everybody a bunch of money if you're willing to spend a little time tearing everything apart to replace the batteries. Is it a big deal? Absolutely not. But it's fun to have one less code in there. So maybe we'll do a fogging sensor video next. I'm sure some of you saw that code. The windshield is new. I'll have to talk to the glass shop to see if this is a new fogging sensor that's not working or if they moved it over and the sensor's just bad. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments below. Be sure to subscribe. I'll talk to you guys on the next E39 source video. Take care.